Hello, this is B. Ramana, teacher in English. In this video, I would like to share with you the topic how to identify subordinate clause, dependent clause, independent clause, main clause. Right, let us start our discussion with the question what helps us identify these clauses. Now, point number one is subordinating conjunctions. Yes, these subordinating conjunctions help us identify the clauses. These conjunctions include as, since, because, when, where, how, why, while, what, if, unless, although, even if, even though, so that, whether, after, before, in case, as soon as long as if, as though, till, until, then, that, once, provided that, in order that, although. Well, now the question is, how do these subordinating conjunctions help us identify these clauses? Here is a clause, he was ill, but it has no subordinating conjunction before it. So this clause is called main clause, independent clause, principal clause. But here it is a clause with a subordinating conjunction before it. I mean, here the clause begins with a subordinating conjunction, that is since. Then this clause is called dependent clause or subordinate clause. You may ask me the question, why whenever a subordinating conjunction is added, it becomes dependent clause? It is because whenever a subordinating conjunction is added to a clause, that subordinating conjunction becomes the part of that integral part of that clause, and it changes and disturbs the meaningful state of the clause. So that clause has to depend on other clause to regain its meaningful state. That is the reason whenever a clause begins with a subordinating conjunction, then the clause will become dependent clause. He was reading a book. This is a main clause or independent clause or principal clause because there is no subordinating conjunction before it. But here I was drawing pictures is a clause that begins with a subordinating conjunction, that is while. So it is a dependent clause or subordinate clause. Here the clause you work hard begins with a subordinating conjunction, that is if. So this clause is called subordinate clause or dependent clause. Here the clause you will get more marks will be main clause, independent clause or principal clause because it has no subordinating conjunction before it. In this way, the note number one, if a clause doesn't begin with a subordinating conjunction, then the clause will be main clause, independent clause, principal clause. But if a clause begins with a subordinating conjunction, then the clause will be dependent clause or subordinate clause because whenever the subordinating conjunction is added, it becomes part and parcel of the clause and changes its meaningful state, and the clause concerned should depend on other clause to regain its meaning. Right, what is the second point that helps us identify these clauses? The second point is coordinating conjunctions. They include for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, either or, neither nor, else, still, not only but also, both and, otherwise, however, nevertheless, as well as, no less than, only, therefore. Well, how do these coordinating conjunctions help us identify the clauses? Whenever these clauses are joined together with coordinating conjunctions, then the clauses will be called main clauses or independent clauses. Let us explain with some examples. Here I called him is a clause, main clause. He responded is also a main clause. Whenever these two main clauses are joined together with a coordinating conjunction, that is and, then those two main clauses continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses because this and, that is coordinating conjunction, will not be part of these two, either of these two clauses, and will not disturb the meaningful state of these two clauses. So those two main clauses continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses. Similarly, meet him is a main clause, and don't pick a fight with him is also main clause. So whenever these two main clauses are joined together with a coordinating conjunction that is but, these two main clauses continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses, because but will not affect the meaningful state of these two clauses by not being a part of either of these two clauses. I can't attend there is a main clause. I have been ill is a main clause. Here these two clauses are joined together with the coordinating conjunction that is for. Here these two clauses I can't attend there and I have been ill will continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses, because here the coordinating conjunction for will not affect the meaningful state of these two clauses. So these two clauses will continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses even if they are joined together with the coordinating conjunction that is for. He will fire me is a main clause. I will quit the job is a main clause. These two main clauses, whenever they are joined together with the coordinating conjunction either or, these two main clauses will continue to remain as main clauses or independent clauses, because these clauses will never be disturbed from the point of view of meaning. I mean, this coordinating conjunction either or will not affect the meaningful state of these two clauses. So these two clauses will continue as main clauses or independent clauses even after they are joined together the coordinating conjunction either or. Right, let us have an exercise that is identify the following underlined clauses. Sentence number 1. I don't know where he lives. Here the underlined clause is where he lives. This is a subordinate or dependent clause because it has started with a subordinating conjunction that is where. Wait here till I return is the second one. Here the underlined part is till I return. It is a subordinate or dependent clause because it has started with a subordinating conjunction that is till. Here in the third one, the underlined clause is he did not help me is a main clause or independent clause because it has a coordinating conjunction that is but before it. I saw him 7 years ago. This is a clause where there is no subordinating conjunction before it. So it is a main clause or independent clause. Here in the fifth sentence, did I get the job is an underlined part, and this is underlined clause where this clause is called the main clause or independent clause because it has a coordinating conjunction that is nor. So it is a main clause or independent clause. Here though he gave me the book is a underlined clause, is an underlined clause. Here it started with a subordinating conjunction that is though. So it is a subordinate clause or dependent clause. I got more marks than I had expected. Here the underlined clause is than I had expected. It is a subordinate clause or dependent clause because it has started with a subordinating conjunction that is than. To sum up, whenever clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions, then the clauses are called subordinate clauses or dependent clauses. But whenever the clauses are there without a conjunction, whenever the clauses are there without subordinating conjunctions, or the clauses are connected with the coordinating conjunctions, then those clauses are called main clauses, principal clauses, independent clauses. Well friends, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, tapping subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you very much. Namaste.